Welcome to today's webinar on choosing honours at the ANU. My name is Dr. Gemma King from CASS. I am the honours coordinator for French and a lecturer in French studies, and I'll be presenting the session today with my colleagues. I'm going to be talking about the why of honours. So the coming from an academic perspective, the reasons why you may find it really rewarding to do an honours degree. And then I'll pass on to my colleague Andrew Carfrae, who is undergraduate student advisor at CASS, who can give you more information on the practical side of actually applying for honours. And then we'll pass on to my colleague Edmund, who is doing a PhD at the moment at the ANU, but did honours in 2016, so can share his personal experience of what it's like to do honours at the ANU. So firstly, a bit of housekeeping. If you do have any questions during the webcast, we would love you to ask them, but please submit them through the Q&A function because we won't be able to see them if you post them in the chat window. So feel free to bring those, send those through as we go. So let's get started. The first thing that I always tell my students when they come to ask me about why you should do an honours degree is that it gives you this really valuable and precious opportunity and freedom to create something that is your own. And although undergrad gives you the opportunity to try all kinds of different study areas and all kinds of different experiences and assessment pieces and kinds of research, you very rarely get to go really deep into the process of research and discovering something yourself. So honours gives you the freedom to decide what path you want to go down, the freedom to create a project that's entirely your own, but it's also not as though we throw you in the deep end and just leave you there. You also have the framework of a supervisor who you meet with frequently, as well as coursework that you do either both semesters or at least in the first semester, so that you have a support network and a cohort who are going through this experience with you. And it's this really wonderful mix of your own personal research journey and being well supported in the learning process. So I personally find that one of the most sort of valuable and unique things about honours. Another sort of preconception that people may have about honours is that it's just the pathway into a PhD, and it certainly is. It was in Ed's case and it was in my case as well. But although mine was next year, it'll be 10 years since I did my honours degree, so I'm definitely not here as a student voice, but as a staff voice. But honours is, of course, the official pathway into doing further study if you want to do a master's degree or a PhD. But it also gives you a whole range of soft and hard skills that are applicable in all kinds of careers. So things like individual research capacity, the ability to make your own deadlines and keep them. You're not being necessarily held to those deadlines by other people, but by yourself, and that may be something that you haven't done before. Longer form presentation skills. Usually in undergrad you've only presented for 10 or 15 minutes or so. The ability to structure a long written piece. You've probably only written maybe 3,000 words max by the time you finish undergrad, whereas in this case you're dealing with a much longer structure. Grant applications, building a relationship with a supervisor who's also an intellectual mentor, all kinds of soft skills that you can take into government, into industry, into the creative areas that are not simply academic but are very valuable skills that you will hone in honours and take out into the world in your career, whether you remain in academia or not. So I suppose the main point that I wanted to make is that honours gives you many different pathways to lead on from, but it's this very valuable year where you find your voice. So I hope that was inspiring.
I'm inspired. Yeah.
I can go on, but perhaps Andrew, if you want to.
So yeah, I mean, I see. Thanks, Gemma. So I see lots of students who do their honours, and it is an amazing thing to see them go from their undergrad sort of 3 or maybe 4 years, and then they go on to do this thing. And it is such a wonderful challenge for people, because you are given the task of writing something 16 to 20,000 words, or maybe even a bit more for some disciplines. But it's just such a personal challenge as well. I mean, when I wrote my sub-thesis, I found the whole thing to be an excellent experience, even at those points where I was tearing my hair out, and when I had to come home from work and I had to read things and write. That's the thing, the whole thing about shut up and write. Well, it's exactly that. You got to just sit down and you got to write. Mm-hmm. So it's a discipline. It's a passion. You got to be passionate about it. You got to know what you really, you got to know that it will change. It will, things will taken away. And it's this year to be able to do that. And I think that's quite a luxury. Mm-hmm. So I think it is a great opportunity for people to challenge themselves and to write something that really expresses what you think about something. Like Gemma says, your voice comes out in this piece of work. Mm-hmm. So if you've got something to say, then why not say it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anyway, I'll stop rabbiting on about that. So what's the process? So I guess there are some dates that you should be aware of. So for first semester, the cut-off date is the 31st of October. It used to be more of a soft deadline. Now it is a very strict deadline because we are in line with the admissions office, and they tell us that is the deadline to get things in, 31st of October. So the first place to start is always on programs and courses. So the best way to do it is to, if you are if you are in a Bachelor of Arts degree, then you should go to the programs and courses page and put in Bachelor of Arts Honours Search. You can also do the shortcut of going HARTS, H-A-R-T-S, and then press return, and then it will come up as Bachelor of Arts Honours. So this brings out an important point. So we have to remember that honours is linked to your program or your degree, rather than, and then it is to do with the discipline. So if you are in a Bachelor of Arts here at the ANU, then you apply for a Bachelor of Arts Honours. If you are in a Bachelor of IR, then you apply for a Bachelor of IR Honours. I can hear you yell out, what if I'm from another university and I'm not, there is no such thing as a Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of International Relations where I come from? Then you're best to talk to possibly the convener of the program that you think is the closest match for you. So if you are at Melbourne Uni and they have a degree called Bachelor of International Studies, I don't know, but just as a hypothetical,
sure.
Yeah, let's just put that out there. So then you would, and you say, well, it's about international relations, so you would go and talk to the Bachelor of International Relations Honours convener here at the ANU, and that's what you would apply for. So once you figure out at this program level what you want to do, then the next step would be to get your thesis supervisor confirmation form. Ta-da! Here it is. It is a delightful creature. It has only just come into effect. So it is actually a PDF form there are drop-down menus and things like that. It is pretty standard. It's just at the top here you would say you want to apply for honours in the drop-down menu. Here you would say you choose your program, see how important the program is. So you would choose, say, Bachelor of Arts Honours, Language Studies Specialisation, because that's where it becomes the discipline. So it would be, say, Politics and IR Specialisation within the Bachelor of Arts Honours, or you could do Philosophy Specialisation in the Bachelor of Arts Honours. So you would choose that up here. But if you were doing BPPE Honours, Bachelor of Politics, Philosophy and Economics, then you would pick that one in the program. Yeah, they have a couple of streams within there, but you can have a look at what they are on the programs and courses. So then this is pretty much standard. It's biographical details. name, enrolment, whether you want to do full-time or part-time. You want to say when you want to commence and when you want to submit your thesis. And then you put your proposed thesis topic. Now, this is very contentious because a lot of people go, oh, but I want to do a thesis proposal. Well, that's excellent. But you should talk about that with your honours supervisor or your potential supervisor. We only want the very, very basic maximum 50 words to know that you have talked to a supervisor about it. So you can put in the good old classic that's been written 100 times, underwater basket weaving in Melanesia, in there. There you go. But if
How did you know my thesis topic?
Is it yours as well?
No, it's not. Unfortunately, right. I wasn't thinking that far ahead.
It was in Hawaii, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay. So so put that in 50 words. And if you are talking to your potential, we'll get to supervisors and things in a minute. But if you talk to your supervisor and they say, well, that's great, thank you, I'm interested, but I want more. I want you to do a thesis proposal. So that's when you would write, like, I don't know, 500 words, 1,000 words or something with references. It's between you and your supervisor as to how you negotiate that. But for entry, all we want to know is that A, you have something and that you have talked to somebody about it. So there's a couple of other signatures down here that we need. So one of them is your supervisor. Now, a lot of people ask also about this. Can you, they will send me an email saying, can you arrange a supervisor for me? Oh. I would love to be able to do that, but unfortunately, I think that would mean my octopus-like arms would have to spread over the university, and it is better for you to have that personal connection to find. So to find your own supervisor. Then you can talk, you can negotiate, then you can kind of say, well, my topic is about underwater basket weaving, but it's in, this discipline, it's more the politics element of it. Then you can say, okay, well, you can, perhaps you would be better going to politics rather than anthropology. So you can have those conversations about the academic content directly with the person that you may or may not be working with, and then they can direct you or say yes or whatever. They may also say, oh, well, maybe you might like to think about this, or maybe you want to think about that before we can take you on. Or they might even say, no, I'm not interested. But possibly you could talk to X. He or she is really into that. So, sorry, I'm making it wobble. So that's your supervisor. On the CASS website, so if you go to CASS, the cass.anu.edu.au, and then you go to current students, and then you go to honours. Underneath that honours, there's a frequently asked questions. There's a list of honours conveners on that list. So if you're looking for a place to start for a supervisor, go there first, and then start that conversation. It also has a thing saying how to apply, and this form is on there, as well as links to all of the different programs and courses entries about BPPE honours, Be Art History and Curatorship honours, etc., etc. So you can go directly there and find this form.
Can I actually preempt a possible question
yes.
we might get? So if you're doing a Bachelor of Arts,
yes.
for example, and a number of different sub-disciplines are included in that, if you want to do, say, honours in philosophy,
yes.
are there any sort of requirements in terms of the amount of philosophy courses you've done
yes.
to be able to do that? Or is it open slather? You can pick whatever you feel like.
That is an excellent question. So it is really determined by the requirements as listed on programs and courses. That was a very throwaway answer. But the real answer is you should really have done a major in it. Maybe with languages it's a bit different because you can do a minor in an advanced language.
It has to be, so for most languages, we would prefer you to have done a major,
yes.
But if you've done an advanced minor as opposed to a minor,
yes.
which proves that you've come out of your bachelor's degree with advanced language level,
yes.
then we accept that. But I think most disciplines need a major, don't they?
They really do.
Yeah.
So if you really want to do, say, honours in philosophy, but you haven't done a major in philosophy, that can be problematic. And again, you should look at what the majors you have done, and then maybe talk to your potential supervisor or the convener. So say, for example, you wanted to do philosophy honours, but you had actually done a politics major. So it might be part of the conversation you have with your supervisor or your convener to say, I really want to incorporate bits of philosophy I want to have a philosophical basis for my thesis. And they may say, yeah, great, I'm really into that, I want you to do that. But they may also say, no, you can go down various avenues to see whether you can get into philosophy, but it is the required 6 courses that you need to get in. So it's the major first, then if that doesn't work, then you can maybe go down that other avenue. But it is about try that negotiation first, because if it is also multidisciplinary, which is what happens a lot, say you're doing politics, you might do some history within that, you might do a bit of philosophy, you might do a bit of, I don't know, art history, I don't know, anything is possible. Then that's when you would start that more negotiative, such a word, negotiation process. Yeah. So that's that. So you need 4 signatures on here. First of all, your signature. And then the second one would be the supervisor. The third one would be the convener, which sometimes will be the same one. And then there's a head of school. So again, this has been made into an online form, a form that you can digitally sign, save, then send it to your supervisor, they digitally sign it, save it. Then it goes to the next person. So it is a little bit of jumping through some hoops. They're not fiery hoops, they're just hoops. So, but we need this to kind of for around reasons of staffing and requirements of the degree, and so it's a bit boring. But once you get all the signatures, it just means that you've got everyone on the same page about what you're doing, and all these people know that you may be coming.
And it's a safety net as well.
It is,
If your supervisor has to, it becomes unavailable for some reason, then you have a paper trail and support from a convener. And
Absolutely.
the form
right.
it's annoying. It's an
It is
annoying
totally
form,
annoying. Yes.
but it helps keep you protected.
Yeah, that's right, and it's protection for everyone. So we are trying to think of other ways to do this form. The digital signatures was possibly a good way. I'm getting possibly, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
no, it's better than paper one.
Yeah, so you can also print out the form and go around to offices if you would prefer to do that and then scan in the form. We'd prefer no photos of the form, a scanned copy. Oh, questions?
Hi, Amelia. If I have completed 8 units of anthropology but not the prescribed major within a Bachelor of Development Studies, what needs to happen for me to get into an honours in anthropology? Would that be a matter of going to talk to the convener of Anth Honours?
So it would be, yeah, I would. But as we were saying, it is program level. So it would be Bachelor of Development Studies Honours, because that's the program that you would be doing. So whether if there would be provision for you to do anthropology honours within that, because at the moment it would just be Bachelor of Art, not just, it would be the magnificent and excellent Bachelor of Development Studies Honours, then whether or not you couldn't actually get that anthropology specialisation within that Development Studies Honours as it sits now. But there could be some provision, as we were just talking about before, that you could possibly ask for some kind of dispensation for that if you are totally keen and that's what you want to do the anthropology specialisation under a Bachelor of Development Studies Honours. But it's not normal, it needs to be negotiated, because it would be you apply for Bachelor of Development Studies Honours because you have a Bachelor of Development Studies, and then within that possibly it could be some anthropology, as we were talking about before, that could inform your thesis and inform your coursework. Yeah.
Depends a lot on your supervisor as well.
Absolutely right.
You could have discussions with your supervisor about your particular topic, and they could say, bring in a perspective from another school or
Yeah.
from another field or something like that. So it's not like you're so limited that you hand a draft to your supervisor and they say, "What is this anthropology?
Yeah.
Get it out," because
Yeah.
you're not doing that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of flexibility within what you research, so that you
Yes.
can incorporate. If you're interested in anthropology, you can bring in those perspectives, even if you're not specifically doing it in anthropology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I imagine I'm wading into administrative areas I know nothing about. But if you had already a relationship with a supervisor from anthropology who you knew you would connect really well with, I imagine going to CASS for that dispensation would make a huge difference if you already had a relationship with a supervisor.
Absolutely correct. Yeah.
Good. Great.
Right.
I went out on a limb there.
Next.
If your undergrad degree was within if your undergrad degree was within CASS, but you took courses that really interested you that were run by a different school, for example, Pacific Studies courses through CAP, can you do an honours program that focuses more on those courses? For example, honours focusing on Pacific Studies in this case.
Okay. So it's a bit similar to that last question. So there isn't a Pacific Studies honours within the... It actually would depend again on this program, what program you're in. So if you are in if you're in the development studies, for example, Bachelor of Development Studies, then in CASS your option would be to do a Bachelor of Development Studies honours. Again, if you wanted to incorporate elements of that Pacific Studies within this, then you are welcome to negotiate. But if you're totally about doing Pacific Studies and you want it to be a Bachelor of Pacific Studies honours, then you would probably go and talk to the College of Asia and Pacific, because they do specifically a Pacific Studies honours, I think. I'm not a CAP person, but they will be able to tell you. Yeah. So if you're totally passionate about that area and you think, oh well, I want it to be more about Pacific Studies rather than my Bachelor of Development Studies, then you would try possibly another college. But again, I think first stop that's kind of the second tier. The first tier would be to start off those conversations and negotiations first. Yeah.
And I'm not sure what your area is, Rosalind, but if you were, for example, coming from a literary studies perspective, there are people in the English program who would be open to supervising a Pacific literary piece of, say, for example, I come from French and we have expertise in the French Pacific and things like that. So it completely depends on the topic that you're looking at. And it would only be when you got to the point where if you got to the point where you felt like the expertise wasn't there in CASS.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. Yeah.
And I could be wrong with this, so shout me down if it is the case. But saying no to people seems to be the last resort. If someone says to you, I want to do X, Y, or Z,
yes,
saying no, you can't flat out is never going to be the first answer. There's always going to be ways for people to kind of accommodate what you want to do and try and make it the best way possible for you.
Yeah.
So you may have to take some roundabout sort of steps, or maybe not be in the exact program but still research the topic.
Yes.
But saying no will always be the last resort, if at all.
We want students to do honours. That's the CASS. That's the bottom line, I guess. We want students because, it is a pathway to PhD. It is a pathway to grow the corpus of knowledge. It is a pathway to develop a scholarly community, So why not?
Yeah.
And it is kind of that last. And it's just, it's just unfortunate when I get applications that are not, all there, or they're not up to scratch in other ways. But even then, we sort of try and negotiate something. But so, and I guess all of this happens, and when we get signed off by, I know I'm dragging this format again, I love it. When it's just
that
about
makes one of us.
Yes, maybe I should be more sarcastic next time. No, honestly. We're trying to do a better job.
No, it's good.
These signatures are a symbol that you have gone through this negotiation process. So once we get this, then we can go forward and see what's happening and try and find, this is a very corporate thing to say, but solutions to help people to get in and do what they want to Yeah.
And that same attitude exists at all the people that you need signatures from. The head of school, the convener, the supervisor, they're all going to be doing their own thing and acting in their own way to try and help you out. So even if your supervisor says, "Oh, sorry, I can't help you out with that," the head of school will be the next person to say, "Oh, maybe that's something I can do with." There's always going to be someone backing you up or saying, "Let's see if we can figure out a way to do this."
Yeah. Because we have had cases in the past where it has been, seemingly roadblock, but still people have been able to go ahead, even after trying all these different people. But let's keep it simple first. This is sort of going off into other bits. Let's just try and keep it simple first. I guess that's the easiest way.
I mean, an example from my own experience is that next year I'll be supervising a student who will be writing a thesis on the upcoming referendum in New Caledonia. I don't personally have a background in studies on New Caledonia, but that doesn't mean I can't supervise that topic because I have the French studies background. So your supervisor doesn't have to be publishing or presenting in exactly the same area that you're wanting to write on. There's flexibility there as well.
And you do have access to the expertise of the whole school.
Yeah.
So if
totally.
If you're looking at a particular area of political science and you're talking to an academic who specialises in one branch of political science, and you find that there's a gender aspect, you just walk down the hall and say, find someone who is an expert in a gendered aspect of political science, and because of that communal sort of feeling between honours students and the faculty, well, they're not going to say no. They'll say, "Oh, of course, it's just such a scholarly, open community that everyone's always willing to help you."
Yeah.
Because half the people went through these themselves.
Totally.
Or probably more than half. All these academics know the situation you've been in, have been in the situation themselves, and they don't want to get you stuck in any way.
That's right. Yeah. And it's also an investment too, I think. So
Absolutely.
we're investing in this new generation of scholars. So why not?
Yeah.
Let's help out. So yeah. Can I just say one more thing about the boring old form?
I suppose.
I'll allow it.
Everyone okay with that? Okay. So once you get all these signatures, either in a digital or the hard copy, you then go to the page of the degree that you want to apply for. So say it's Bachelor of Arts Honours, you would go to the Bachelor of Arts Honours page on programs and courses, and there is a big black button in the top right hand corner. Now I reckon it should be a great big green button, but anyway, not black button, but green for go. Anyway, sorry. Then click it.
Black for foreboding.
Yes, black for foreboding. So click the button and it will bring you to a new page where you would register. So even if you are a current ANU student, you still need to register because you are registering for a new program. And then you make a little profile for yourself and then you go through the application process. If you're an ANU student, you don't have to upload a transcript. Lots of people think they do. You just have to skip through that. But then at the end, there's somewhere where you can upload this baby. So do it. And then once you get through, and then you can just click submit, and then you have applied. Then if you're from another institution, then the same thing you'd have to do, but you would have to upload your official documents. So this means that it can't be a screenshot of your marks. It can't be like an old photocopy of when you were halfway through your degree. You need to get an official transcript in a digital format and then upload it when it asks you to. So, yeah.
Speaking of grades, not to try and scare too many people off,
Yes.
grade cut-offs or limits, is there a requirement for a sort of an average that you have to have, or does it depend via school, or?
No, it's across the board now. It's all standardised.
Yep.
Did you want to say something about this, or are you okay?
No.
No, okay.
You may reveal.
Da, 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 no. So it is standardised across the board now. So it hasn't got anything to do with your GPA. It is all to do with the top 36 units or 6 courses in the discipline or the major that you want to apply for. And then you get the average of that, and that average needs to be above 70. Easy. So, let's say, for example, someone wanted to do Bachelor of Arts, Honours, Anthropology specialisation. Then we would look at their anthropology major from either here or from somewhere else, and then we would get the top 6 courses within the major, and then I would add them up, and then I'd say, okay, well, you got 78. So, great, excellent. Have they got this? Great. Give them, well, maybe a bit more than that. Have they completed their degree, etc.? Is it within 2 years? That's another thing I should probably mention. This is a big one. So, in the coursework award rules, there is a stipulation that says to go into an honours program, you have to apply within 2 years of you completing your undergraduate program. So if you completed your undergraduate degree in 2014, at the end of 2014, you have until the end of 2016 to apply. Easy.
Yeah.
If it's beyond that, and we do get people who sometimes, have had 10 years since they've done their BA, it could possibly be a good idea for you to try for a master's program that has a thesis part of that too. But you can also, again, just apply. And I think a message, a take-home, another corporate speak, but a take-home for this is just apply.
Yeah.
Because if you don't apply, then we can't do anything.
It's free to ask.
It's free to ask, that's right. So I would just apply if it was you. Yeah.
We have a good question, again from Rosalind. Can you give a little bit more info about the coursework/assessment component of honours? Is it similar to undergrad courses? So the coursework component is half of your honours.
Yeah.
The thesis is the other half. Whether you do 2 units of coursework in first semester, 2 units in second semester, and 2 units each of thesis or not, that's how I did my honours, but
yes.
some people do all of their coursework in first semester. What did you do?
I think it depends by school, because in SPEAR we did, it was all first semester coursework, second semester was thesis work only, and it comprised of a double weighted methods course, 12 units, and then 2 other units, 2 6-unit courses, but you were given a choice of a selection. So prior to getting started, they'll send you a list and say, these are the range of courses that we give. There was maybe, I think, 5 or 6 of them, and they kind of covered an area or a sub-area of the discipline. So in SPEAR, there was one on security studies, one on political institutions, one on globalization, there was one on political theory. So all of the varied sub-disciplines, and then of those 5 or 6, you just picked 2 that you wanted to do, whether or not not all of them will relate directly to what your thesis is, but you might find something completely interesting that you hadn't thought of, or you just thought, this might be interesting, I might give this a go and just learn something new, or
Yeah, and in terms of whether they're similar to undergrad courses, they follow the semester structure, and in that sense they are the same, but the level of critical thinking that's required and the level of independence in the formulation of the assessment that you do is generally of a much higher level. Like there's a jump up from undergrad, and you will notice that you have more freedom with your assessment, and often, depends on the course, but often the direction that the course goes in, like often teachers will ask for more input on the structure of the course than they might at undergraduate level. So it functions in the same way in that you have like classes in the classroom every week and assessment throughout the semester, but the nature of the reflection that you'll be doing and the material that you produce is just of a higher level.
And they do always try and bring it back to your thesis as much as they possibly can. So it's not like if you're doing a thesis in political theory, you have to sit down and do quantitative data analysis in political science. They'll say, what's your, the classes are small enough and everyone's friendly enough that you that you collaborate. If someone says, oh, well, my thesis is on something that doesn't necessarily relate to this course, well, then there's some negotiation about how, you know, you can relate it back to what you're interested in or your thesis or something like that. So you're never left completely in the dark or completely isolated doing something you hate doing or you know you don't want to do.
No, hopefully not.
And exactly right. It's within discipline area. So SPEAR does have that model of all coursework first semester, then thesis.
Yeah.
But there are other people like philosophy, and it can be anything. It can be 6 units of coursework, 18 units thesis, then the kind of mirror of that in the next semester. Because you've got to get to 24 units of thesis and 24 units of coursework. And how you decide within those disciplines is kind of up to you and your supervisor.
Yeah.
But
And I would also stress, not to be too scary about everything, but on the coursework component does matter. I mean, obviously it's worth 50% of your grade, and if you go in with the impression that the thesis is the only thing that matters, which I think is an easy kind of intuition to have about, because you know there's so much about the honours thesis that you do, and obviously it is important, but the last thing you'd want is to find that your grade, if you want to get a first class honours to be able to go into a PhD, the last thing you would want is for your coursework grade to drag you down because you didn't think it was as important as the thesis component.
Yeah, that's right.
I think that's another reason why honours is a good preparation for a career,
Yeah.
especially in government or education or whatever you would go into, because those two things they're interrelated, the thesis and the coursework.
Yep.
They're mutually informing, but they are very separate exercises.
Yep.
And you have to find a way that works for you to balance the two of them feasibly. And so time management comes back into it, and also knowing how you work. It's kind of a process of learning what kind of a scholar or a writer or a worker that you are.
Exactly, yeah.
And no matter what job you go into, you'll never just have to do one thing.
No, and nor, a lot of the aspects of honours thesis, you think a thesis, you think sitting around thinking big thoughts and, thinking all these amazing things, but in every job you go into, you are going to have to collaborate with other people or do smaller bits of work.
Yeah.
If you go into the government, you're not going to be writing a policy paper that's, 30,000 words every day of the week. You may have to go and do more quote-unquote menial aspects of the job, which, the time management and the administration side of organising coursework and thinking about smaller different deadlines that you've got really helps you for that.
Yeah.
I can see a question that's come through on the chat, which is less visible than the Q&A section.
Oh, yes.
But it says, just one problem from Sabine. Just one problem with the anthropology honours. I'm in the same boat. So going back to when we were talking about Anth,
Yes.
there is no Bachelor of Anthropology anymore. Wouldn't that just come through the Bachelor of Arts then?
It would.
So it depends what you're doing, Sabine, but it would be a Bachelor of Arts with a focus. I was going to say focalization. That's a word in French, but not a word in French. It's not a word in English. Bachelor of Arts. Brackets anthropology.
That's right. So Sabine, it would be entirely what degree, again, what program you are doing, and then it would be, let's say, Bachelor of Arts, because yes, there is no Bachelor of Anthropology, and exactly right, it would be an anthropology specialisation within the Bachelor of Arts honours. Yeah.
One question I might quickly ask, this is just that I've recalled from my honours experience. There was an honours scholarship that might be worth mentioning.
There is.
I worked a lot while I did my honours.
Yeah, me too.
More than I probably should have. Hopefully no one from my work is watching. But I worked a lot more than I should have, and it does, if you can't balance it or you get sucked into working too much, then it does detract from the amount of time you can commit to your thesis or to your coursework.
Yeah.
So it would be worth making people aware that there are honours scholarships available.
Yeah, there are a few. So there is one that is available on the Honours for Current Students pages. But if you go to the ANU website and put in scholarships, a whole page comes up about scholarships. and then you can do it by level, so you can do it by honours level, and then you can do it by, so that will bring up everything, and then you can sort it by college. There is one honours scholarship, and it has a deadline, I think I can't remember, it might be October or September, but it's for either cohort. So if you started in first semester or second, then that is the honours scholarship, and it'll just be paid retrospective. I think that's how it works. But it would be best for you to have a look at that scholarship and go to that page and get the information about it. But a scholarship is a great way to help with that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it obviously won't solve. It's not going to pay your rent or whatever for the whole year or anything, but it will be quite helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah. Great.
If anyone has any more questions that they'd like to send through the Q&A, we can receive those now. I have a question for you.
Oh yes.
And
Right
I
on
should know this, but I've kind of heard conflicting reports. Is combined honours a thing?
Well, it's lovely meeting you both.
Like, can you have a supervisor in politics and a supervisor in philosophy, or is that not ever done?
Okay, so it can happen. Yeah. It is a bit complex to get all the ducks in a row, all the stars in alignment, whatever simile you want to use. So you can do it. On this form, it doesn't have the provision to do that, so you would have to fill it in manually. But you would need, if you were doing it across two different schools, you would need supervisors from both schools. You'd need conveners from both disciplines, and you'd need head of school to say yes. And then again, it's a negotiation process about what coursework you do and what percentages of thesis, etc. So it can be difficult to do.
And in that way, you know, sticking to one program and then just being collaborative with another school might be an easier option. Administratively,
Totally is.
It sounds like it's probably a lot more trouble than it's worth in most cases.
I guess so.
Given the alternatives,
that
are available,
and the, like we were saying, exactly that collaborative nature. You can kind of have a combined honours when doing just one discipline. I have noticed on here that I should say a few things. So there is psychology honours as well. So we do that through the Bachelor of Arts. So for psychology honours, you wouldn't need to fill this form out. You would fill out the College of Sciences form. Of course, there's another form you need to fill out. So because what happens is you apply through us, and then we quickly pass the ball to science, and then they do their magic, and then it comes back to us with a yes or no. So psychology honours is very, very, very competitive, because it literally is about how many seats they have in their lab. So they have to cut it down to however many people they can put it in, they can say they can have. If you're in a PhD, you don't need to apply formally through the website for honours, but you still need the form. So that's for current PhD students. So if you reach the end of your third year in a PhD and you go, I want to do my honours bit now, then you just fill out this form, get a supervisor, and then you would just send it to us at ug.students.cas@anu.edu.au, and then we would just put you into the process. One other thing I should probably mention is that if you are from outside of the university, not a current student, and you want to do visual arts or design arts, or you want to do music honours, the best place to start is at the school, because you will probably need to do an audition if you wanted to do performance honours, and you will probably need to do a portfolio if you're doing visual arts or design arts honours as well. So contact the school for that. I have here, please note that you should apply for one honours program only, based on your current or just completed degree. So there are some extraordinarily keen students out there who say, I want to do honours, but I'm not sure what to do it in, so I will apply for, let's say, up to 6, 7, 8 programs. And so it can be very confusing. Because you can kind of go, well, okay, so you're from outside, but you do have a Bachelor of Arts, but you're applying for Bachelor of International Relations, should do Bachelor of Arts. So it is a lot of me saying no to all these other programs. So just apply for one. You only need to apply for one. And then if that doesn't work, well, we'll try something else. But just apply for one. Yeah. So there you go.
Great.
Yeah. Great.
Well, either Andrew or Ed, did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, not off the top of my head. No.
Any other? But if you do have questions, that email again is ug.students@anu.edu.au, and we're happy to reply to any questions you might have about this, because it can be a confusing process, especially with the form. And if you're coming in from outside and all what we've talked about, but we're happy to help.
And even if you want some more, just some general advice or kind of life advice or social advice about what doing honours is like or doing a PhD is like, just try and get in touch with one of the PhD students, because chances are they've done honours before. I had an honours student in security studies just email me out of nowhere and say, I know you did your honours, any chance you could give me some advice on X, Y, or Z?
Yeah,
and
that's a great idea.
And so that's a good idea. And if people want to look me up, then they can, and I can chat to people and answer questions if they have them.
Great.
Yeah.
And in terms of finding a supervisor, you may have already been taught by somebody who has inspired you to do honours, so you can make direct contact with that academic. If you don't quite know who would be the right supervisor for you in your field, then go on to the HARTS, the Honours in Arts website.
Yes. Yep.
Just search CASS
Yep.
Honours, and you'll find the conveners page, and get in contact with the convener. They know what each of their staff members' specialisations are, so they can get you in touch with a supervisor if you don't have someone in mind.
Yeah, so that's on the current CASS current student site, honours. So, and there's a little page especially for that.
Before we finish, I think we have another question, but we may need to scroll down on the thingy below Rosalind's last question.
Oh, yes.
Oh, we answered that one, didn't we?
Yeah. So, like us, we did. What are the GPA grade requirements for honours? So, as we were saying, they are on programs and courses, but it's not a GPA. It is grades for the top 36 units or 6 courses in your major for your discipline area.
And that was 70?
70.
Yeah.
70.
So if you are applying for honours in German and you have, from those top 36 units, you have a distinction or more average, then you're good, even if you did an IR subject and you flunked that. If you got a pass in philosophy, it doesn't matter. All that matters is what you got in the area that you are going for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think there's one more again below.
Oh, another one.
Oh, wow.
It does. Oh, Raywin.
Yep.
Hello,
Hi, Raywin.
Yes, thank you. It does not include first year courses.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So you have that as well to not worry about.
Yeah, that's right. So it's only at the ANU, all 1,000 level courses are first year courses. So anything that's 2,000 or 3,000 level. But if you're applying from outside, we will have a look to see what is a sort of non-first year course, and then we'll just make our assessment from that. Yeah. If you want to for outs, another one. So if you want to for outside of the ANU, you can include a PDF saying what courses are in your major and what grade you got with your transcript. So you can say, these are the courses that were in my beekeeping major, let's say philosophy major, and then we will be able to add them up and see and convert back.
I just this second got my form back from head of school. It is a scanned copy. Can I just confirm that that is okay? I thought I heard Andrew say they preferred no scans.
A scan is good.
Scan is
no,
fine.
no
Just not a
photos.
photo of,
Yeah.
from your mobile phone, because that,
I mean,
Yeah.
iPhone cameras are good, but
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
you know.
but no, a scan is
Yeah.
fine.
And sometimes it doesn't work when you go to upload it. So just a scan. You can go to the library. You can do anything. Find a scanner.
Yeah.
Scan in. Yeah.
Great.
Good stuff.
All right.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for logging in.